Today we're gonna show you how I do a nice red fox. Got a nice female fox, nice red fox. I'll show you how we skin her and put her on the board. I already brushed her all over here. So we start down with the pad, split up the leg. The fox, you can see, they usually have their color change here and here. You want to kind of follow that line up, so a little bit different than other animals. You just go straight up the back. The fox, you want to stay just a little bit inside that line. You want to follow that red and white. Same if it's a cross fox. It could be different colors, but color will separate right there. This is the female, so I'm going to go up to between her vulva and her anus. Stop there. And she's going to the fur market, so I just skin down to the top of her toes. Cut that off. Same on the opposite leg. Started at a pad, followed up the back of her leg. I'm going to come inside a little bit and follow that red and white division. Right up between our vulva and our anus on the opposite side. Get her started going on this side. Same thing, just cut it off at the top of her foot. Using my thumb to work the hide. Doing nice and easy, little bits at a time. What I like to try to do is I like to try to work my thumb around the base of her tail, each side. My fingers through and it eats right through behind her tail. What I'm going to do is now that I got it cleared off the tail a little bit, I'm just going to slide my knife in above the tail and just cut right across her vent. Right there. this started down a little bit. Rolled over. Then just below our vulva on this side, just gonna leave that little patch behind. There. Just down a little bit. Get my tail stripper. Make sure I don't have any fur caught in the stripper. Get it up above the skin, clamp it on, and then slide it down to the fur. Just work it nice and easy, little bits at a time. Fox got a long tail. There's the tail. Try to stick it in their hind tendon so it's not poking out in my face as I'm working down. Raise her up a little bit. Okay. Then I got my big tin shears here. There's a dew claw way down here. I want to go above that knuckle. Just cut that off. And the other side. Should be using the big bolt cutters like I do for beaver. Cut that off. Split those to the knee. Just come out at right at the knee joint. Stop your cut there. Split to her knees. And I'm just going to work this down nice and easy. They're nice healthy foxes on this new trap line. Lots of fat. If they're not really fatty like that, you can leave the saddle and you flesh after and put it on the board, but these foxes are really, really fat, so I have to do them on a fleshing beam. I have to be really careful because the fox has a really thin skin. Work that down. Just working my thumb in there, little bits at a time. Once I get the back side of the leg exposed, I get my hand on the leg and work my thumb each side to get around that elbow. Once I get around there, then I get my thumb through. Remember, I split to the elbow here, so now I could just pull through. Same on the opposite side. Just work your thumbs around the leg. Then get your thumb through. Just pull. Caught this girl on a snare, so I have to be careful right behind her head. Keep working my thumb around little bits at a time. more up to the cartilage in the ears here. Just gonna work that down, but leave the cartilage attached. Just little bits at a time so you don't nick the hide. In between the ears, on the side. So she's going to the fur trade, so I don't have to worry about pocketing the ear. All I want is the flesh on the back of her ear. I want to take the whole inner ear and cartilage out. So a little trick, you work the hide down, leave that cartilage attached instead of typically most animals we cut the back of the cartilage and walk it down. And you can do that too, you can walk it down and then work it through with a knife later. But if you can take your time here, kind of work that back a little bit at a time until you can get your finger through. Once I can get my finger through here, see I still have her cartilage attached and I can get my finger through. I'll repeat the same thing in the other ear. Just nice and easy. That skin on the edges of their ear is really thin, and then there's cartilage in the inner liner of the ear. But if you leave the cartilage attached and you can get your finger through, you just take a screwdriver, you feed it through there, and you just pull down. What that does, see how I stopped there just to show you. What that does, it separates it and splits it down the side. Here's the tip of the ear here now. So I just walk that through with the tip of my thumb. See, now I have the back side of the ear, the inner ear and the cartilage stays on the carcass. Same on the other side. The screwdriver through there. Started. Once it starts to slide, you can just use your thumbs. It's quite easy to pull once it gets there because the ear is separating. You can just kind of, if you're worried about losing the tip of the ear, if it had a scar or something. But you can see there, cartilage in the inner ear stays attached to the carcass. Okay, and just business as usual. Pull the skin down. From here, I'm cutting more towards the skull instead of the skin, because I don't want to cut through my eyelids. So you can see when the dark starts to show up, that's the eyeball there. I want to cut towards the skull and go nice and easy so I don't cut through the eyelid. And then the lip also starts right at the eye too. This side go on. Kind of pinch and pull helps a bit. You can see the pocket where the eye is. There's this vein on all canines that runs up behind their eye to the corner of their lip. You almost always cut it. Their tear ducts and the vein that runs up underneath their eye, usually you nick them and they bleed, so it's good to have paper towel on hand. We don't want blood all over our hide, nice clean hide. Well, same thing, you got a little tear duct at the front of their eye, you gotta be careful there and cut more towards the skull, right at the tear duct. Keep working that down. What I like to do is get down far enough where I can get my finger through here where the bottom lip is connected and the nose is still connected, and then I work just the top and I leave the bottom. I stop going with the bottom lip. It doesn't matter on the commercial fur trade, they don't want the bottom lip, so you can skin through it. If you cut it a couple times, it doesn't matter, you can cut it off later. I'm just gonna take my time and try to keep that nice and clean. I want to follow it up and try to leave the cartilage in the nose with the carcass. So I don't want to just get excited and cut through. I'll have a bunch of cartilage on my nose after. You can cut it out with scissors or whatever later, but right now is the easiest because it's connected to the carcass. So you're following it, you just kind of take your time and follow it back. You can see where the nose is starting to split here now. So now I'm going to take that, I'm going to cut the cartilage off. So there's my nose. And then the pocket here where the bottom lip is, I'm just going to cut that bottom lip off. Okay, so there's my hide, carcass. See the inner ear is attached with the cartilage. Just have the back side of the ear. This is for the commercial fur trade, so there's no bottom lip. Not worried about pocketing the ears, just the back side of the ear. Cut the front feet off, cut the back feet off, and we'll get the camera resituated and we'll show you how we pin it up on the board. Okay, so like I said before, the foxes in the strapline got a lot of fat. So a lot of times this saddle on a fox, you can leave it there and just trim the fat, but there's a whole layer of fat underneath that saddle. So I'm going to do her on a fleshing beam with my fleshing knife. If you do this method, you have to be really careful because the fox has very thin skin. You can see if I was to leave this saddle behind, you can see the fat underneath it. A really thick layer of fat, so. You're gonna be a little more delicate than they are with like a beaver or something like that. Their skin is really thin, so. Delphi fox. We got a male yesterday and he's the same, real greasy and fat. Another thing, if you're gonna go on a fleshing beam like this, the step of brushing, I didn't show that, but I always brush them really well. Because if she happens to have a burr or something in her fur, and you hit that on the fleshing beam, you're gonna make a hole. see she's very greasy, lots of fat. Good sign. I noticed a lot of rabbits and grouse on the trap lines, so they've been eating well. Well, fox mostly eats mice, but just working it down in thin strips so that I don't get too aggressive pulling on too much, because this is a nice fox. She's a nice color too, so I want to get the value out of that can. Big thing about being a trapper is it's fun to go out in the bush and catch animals and do all those sorts of things. But a big role that we all play is that we're hostess of the land and we maintain healthy population. And when we do harvest things, we need to respect the animal and care for the hide and get the best possible that we can out of the hide. Use a small scraper on the board later too. I'm just going to get the bulk of the saddle with the flushing beam because all the fat. It's easy to see if you got a fox that doesn't have a lot of fat. The saddle will be just in the armpit. There'll be a little fat, and then as it works down, it'll be just a real thin layer of like muscle right attached to the skin. But on a really fatty fox like this, you can see all the fat that's under that saddle. The fat also helps to separate it really easily. It rolls quite nicely. Just don't want to get too aggressive and tear the hide. Not fatty and I just use my scraper on the board, I always try to do this part upward on the board. Try not to get all the grease and stuff in their fur, because they have such a thick fur, it just absorbs in there like a sponge. So I do best I can to clean that all up after. Using a flushing beam, you have to draw it out this way, so see all that grease is getting down to the edge there. So chest here. The chest and belly. We're really got to be cautious because that's where it's the thinnest. It's already a thin hide to begin with, so have to be real careful in this area. Biggest thing is not working your knife sideways. You want to kind of just keep nice, straight, steady force. Get a little fold or something there that knife can snag, even though this side's dull, that side's sharp. If there is a little fold in the skin or something along those lines, it can grab and cut if you're sliding your knife side to side. You want to keep that straight forward momentum. Real easy here. Big thing with canines is the acid in their stomach. Very potent. So basically just a couple hours after they die, they usually get a little green in the belly. Wolves, foxes, well, any canine. Canines are bad for it, so. It also makes the material that I'm working with a little softer, a little more delicate, so. Just take your time. As I said, respect the animal that you harvested. Don't want it to go to waste. That edge clean, because if it builds up on your blade, then things don't slide like they're supposed to, and then you end up putting too much pressure. It's nice and easy. This little setup I have here is just kind of my little portable unit. Just a couple of boards screwed together with a 4-inch PVC pipe on it. 4-inch and 3-inch, if you only had one. 3-inch might probably work better. You could do beavers on it and everything, but the 3-inch works nice for otters and things like that. fatty like this when I start to dry it. It'll be really greasy, so all I do is just wipe it down with a paper towel and give it a little longer. Yeah. That last fox there, he was fatty like this, and he was actually in the house for 48 hours. Did a full 24 hours, I wiped them all down, and then another 24, and he was actually right at the right stage. His nose wasn't too dry to flip. If you get a little too dry, you just want to dampen a rag, paper towel, and just hold it on the hide and moisten the hide so that it can roll. If it gets too dry, especially with something like fox or lynx, things like that, you get the face flipped, but it could tear in the lips. And another spot, if you get too excited trying to flip it and it's too dry, it will tear by the legs or belly. With my little scraper on the board, I think. It's looking pretty good. Okay, so there's the bulk of it gone. I'll resituate the camera and we'll show you how we board it up. Okay, so we're gonna get this girl on board. Roughly on the board there for a minute. I'm gonna have to get myself a new tail splitter because I haven't been able to find it. I don't know where it went, but so I'm just working my knife down the tail here, splitting it. Tail splitter is real nice, especially with a fox, because their tail's really bushy and you get all kinds of fur on the cutting edge. You see all the fur there. Back. Doing is I'm using my fingers to feel that I'm not running the tip of my knife through the back side of the tail here. Make sure I've got my thing all cleaned up nice here. Little scraper here just to clean up the tenons and the legs. Looks good. Straighten out on the board here. Just want to see what size she is here. We're not gonna pull on her too hard or anything like that. Just kind of see where she naturally lays. She's a little over the large line, so I'm just gonna maintain that just past the large. Animals like this are graded in this section, so we want nice thick fur here when she dries out. I'll lay her down and start on each side of the tail here, nice and centered in the board. And then what I want to do right away is I want to pull a couple of wrinkles here so that when she dries, this section's nice and thick. So I want to start right away with just a couple, not too big of a wrinkle because we don't want it not to dry. A couple little folds there. Work my way down the tail here now, separating the fur probably every inch. Fox got a real bushy tail, so make sure that you're pulling the fur back so the skin's exposed to air and it dries properly. Okay, tail's all pinned out. Flip her over to her belly side here. Start right in the middle. I want to pull too hard. We just want to kind of where she naturally lays. And then I'm going to bring each leg into the middle. right out the end of the leg. Put one in the middle just so it doesn't curl up, it will dry proper. Then we're gonna pin from the bottom up. If there's any extra material, we want to draw it up to that spot that they grade. That around each side, and now I'm doing that. I want to draw it up and thicken this piece on the back side here, so I'm just going to pull it up a little, pin it, show you a little better here. See how I drew up that slack so it comes in here, thickens this area as it dries. Do the same on this side. In front of that pin and kind of draw that material up. That. Okay. Sometimes with a fox, it's a good idea to put a pin in their nose, because sometimes they curl off the tip of the board. And do the ears. These are just a paper towel tube, piece of cardboard. You have wooden paddles, just to pin that ear out so it's exposed and dries properly. And just get it on a piece of cardboard. One up at the tip of the ear. Two a little further back just to separate it out. The airflow. The other ear. Front legs, just use squirrel boards, weasel boards, mink boards. These are weasel boards. I just slide it into the leg. And that section that we split down to the knee. Just put a couple of pins to open it up so it dries up proper. That. Same with the other leg. edge stick here. Slide that down the belly. Down to my first pin. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring this in the house. Lean this up against something on the wall. And I'll make sure to prop his ears up in the right location. Make sure them legs are hanging down like this so they get airflow in the armpits and the armpits dry properly. And it was a pretty fat fox, so it'll probably be 24 hours. I'll wipe it down with paper towel, give it another 24 hours, and then it's gonna get flipped. So I'll just set this aside and show you another one. So once that's dry and ready to be flipped, show you on another one here quick. Roll it over, slide it back onto our board, pin the ears forward to the eyes, pin the legs back and the tail back, and then I usually leave it on the board like this for another day or two. And then depending on what's going on in the trap line or how busy I am, but it's okay like this on the board for however long it needs to be on there. And then after that they come off and I hang them all up in the fur shed, and when it's time to go to the market they get bagged up and off they go. So hopefully that was helpful.